Okay, ladies and gentlemen. Are we ready for game 2? I certainly hope so. Shikuras Plateau is the place to be, and Goody will once again look for this heavily defensive style, but White-Ra seems to have his number in that regard. And here we go, folks. So White-Ra in the blue trunks. He is playing Protoss up to the northwest of this particular map. It is, of course, the Shikuras Plateau versus his opponent, the one and only ESC.GoOdy. He is in the red trunks, and he is playing Terran. Goody from Germany, White-Ra from the Ukraine, and White-Ra currently on Team Thermaltake Esports, representing very well at this particular tournament. Goody, one of the premier members of ESC, and actually one of the top-ranked Grandmasters players in Europe. The last time I checked, Goody was actually ranked 5 Grandmasters in Europe, which easily puts him in the top 50 in the world at least. Now, the question is, what will White-Ra be able to do, and what will Goody do to deal with that harassment? This Warp Prism play is actually not that common from Protoss, which is kind of a shame, because Warp Prisms are really, really powerful. The problem is they're built from the same place that Colossus are, and Immortals, and Observers. So that's what a lot of people tend to complain about when they talk about Warp Prisms. Like, I don't want to build Warp Prisms because I want to be building Colossus, and it's important that I get as many Colossus out as possible. Now, White-Ra's not really concerned about that. White-Ra doesn't usually build a huge number of Colossus. He'll use a few for supporting fire, but he won't go overboard in it, and instead he'll build a Warp Prism, which allows him to deploy and attack from pretty much any angle. Goody is particularly vulnerable to this because of his very static nature. Often he will place his tanks around, say, here, around the natural expansion, as you can see. And once he's got those deployed, attacking from the front is very difficult, but attacking with a Warp Prism, on the other hand, not so much. Very, very doable. Now, we'll see if Goody decides to try something different. He has also been known for a mass air style. It's not quite as good as his on-the-ground tank play, but we'll find out as to whether or not it is good enough. First simulator coming up right here for White-Ra, as to be expected. And there's the pylon. A little bit of scouting action going on right here. White-Ra having a look around and seeing what he can see. Goody will start off with a few Marines just for defense, and then most likely go into the factory play a little bit later on. I think it's very unfortunate that Goody was not able to do as much damage as I would have liked to see in those Hellion drops. Hellion drops are potentially devastating, and they can really shut down your opponent early on in the game. In this case, however, White-Ra was able to deal with them surprisingly well. I probably shouldn't say surprisingly, it is White-Ra. White-Ra is an incredibly calm player. He has great crisis management skills, gathered over a lot of experience over the years of playing Brood War and, of course, StarCraft 2. If anyone could deal with that kind of thing, it's him. And this is the most unusual thing I've ever seen from Goody. Goody is building more than one barracks. I cannot overemphasize how unusual this is. Goody never does this. As it turns out, he doesn't think the mech play is a particularly good idea, so we could, in fact, be seeing maybe a 3 barracks timing push. That actually seems more likely than you might imagine. We'll see whether or not he decides to go into the stim. It starts with the stim, then cancels, and immediately goes for concussive shell. So this is going to be an early Marauder push. It's nice. There's nothing wrong with it. I'll have to see if he goes reactor or if he starts building Marines with this. A Marauder heavy force is very nice against the starting Protoss units. We'll see if he decides to go with the tech lab here. Yes, he will. So this will be a double barracks Marauder. White-Ra already forward with 1 Stalker. He's got a probe out there as well. He's got a second gateway started. Looks like a lot of aggression coming in. This could actually be White-Ra's 4-gate attack. It's a possibility. Cybernex core is being chrono boosted. That's 2 gates down. We'll see what he decides to do with the last one. And in he goes. Concussive Shell has not finished researching yet. Once it does, that Zealot will be shut down. Concussive Shell, the amazing slowing ability, as you can see, coming into effect right there, almost catches White-Ra out. Now the question is White-Ra properly prepared for a Marauder push? We'll see how much scouting information he actually managed to get. White-Ra is already falling back. He sees 1 tech lab, but he doesn't see the second one. A couple of SCVs coming in. This could in fact be a Marauder combined with a bunker rush. That's going to be very, very difficult for White-Ra to deal with. He's only just got his 3 gates up. He hasn't finished his warp gate tech yet either. The question is, can he defend against it? Army supply is in favor of ESC.GoOdy, and he's also bringing along an SCV. It's unfortunate that he spent a couple of seconds trying to chase that probe. I would have thought he would have wanted to get in immediately, and as I said, either he's going to use these SCVs to soak up a little bit of damage, or he's going to try and use them to create a bunker containment. And here he goes, and there's a split off by White-Ra, but it's not quite quick enough. Good damage coming in right here by ESC.GoOdy, but here's the warp in right here. He's going to need an awful lot more firepower than that. Only a couple of Marauders and no stim. The Marauder trapped down the bottom right there. Good play right here by White-Ra, able to divide and conquer on this particular force. Those Marauders will not do enough damage to break through the Stalker line. Takes one, looks for a second, he will not get it. Easily deflected by White-Ra. It's a very dangerous opening play, and GoOdy is sent packing after that one. The 2 Barracks Marauder is kind of a classic, really. It started in the beta when people discovered that if you have Marauders, then they're good against almost anything. You get early concussive shell, and you're able to nail down Zealots because you can slow them down, they can't get in reach. And you are also able to nail down Stalkers because they do extra damage against armored. Sentries aren't all that effective against it either. White-Ra going with a 5 gateway approach right now. He is building up a Nexus, as you can very clearly see. But a 5 gateway so early on, when he hasn't got that Nexus complete, is a little risky. It's not the first time I've seen him do it, though. Especially if it's only a short-term solution. The reason why people say, oh, well, 4-gate, for instance, is an economically risky strategy is because usually you can't build enough units from 4... Like, you can't mine enough resources to build enough units from 4 gateways all the time. You just don't have the money to sustain that over the long term. 5 gateways is even more severe, but it's okay to do that for the short term if you have a Nexus coming up, which is exactly what White-Ra is doing right here. So we should be able to compensate for that quite nicely. That's a lot of sentries right there by White-Ra, as you can see. He's looking at 7, and in the meantime, GoOdy transitioning back into what he's comfortable with. He's sorting out his tanks, but he's still got more Marauder firepower up here. He's got a good 6. Does he have the stim upgrade? He does not, which perhaps is a little bit of an error, but he's saving all of his gas right here to make sure that he can get some tanks out. GoOdy currently stuck on 1 base, but he's working on that second command center right here. White-Ra's army count is looking very, very threatening. He's got a proxy pylon down right here, and he has 5 warp gates available at his disposal. This charge will be difficult to deal with. GoOdy has not got siege tank deployment. That's really late right here for GoOdy. White-Ra has a huge window of opportunity. He's got a good 70 seconds before that siege tank deployment goes up, and GoOdy's actually rolling out right here, away from that bunker defense, which is going to make this even harder to hold. There we go, GoOdy going in against White-Ra right here, and White-Ra really does have the advantage right now. He's got a lot of firepower at his disposal. He's tearing through GoOdy's forces right now. Those Marines trapped at the back, that tank doing so much damage to the camp, but it doesn't have siege mode. That's going to be absolutely critical as the remaining defenses of GoOdy are cut apart by White-Ra, who's plowing forward with these sentries. Tank is down, and there's nothing left of GoOdy. That was unbelievably brutal. A single tank at the top, and a bunker will probably not hold him against this, unless White-Ra decides to back off. He's trying to mass repair right here on the bunker. It does not hold, as you can very clearly see, and White-Ra annihilating the remainder of GoOdy's defenses, and this I think is going to be short and to the point. White-Ra right into place of GoOdy right here. There's no more defense left for GoOdy. He cannot do anything else at this point. GG, ladies and gentlemen.